The Louisville Cardinals went just above 500 at 6-7 last year, losing a bowl game, but sitting pretty good in 2023 for recruiting. Scott Satterfield, all eyes on you. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Christian Ballard, Allard Sports Media, coming at you with another ACC preview video today, looking at the Louisville Cardinals, who are sitting pretty good in their recruiting for 2023 with a top 5 class. And honestly, I think they're on track to maybe bring the program back to where it needs to be. Now, don't take my word for it. I'm not here to hype them up. I'm not here to jump on any bandwagon or whatever. But, and I apologize, it's not a top 10 class. It is top 15, though. They do have a 5-star. But here's what I'll say. I'm not here to jump on any Louisville all the way bandwagon or whatever, but they got some good linebackers, they got some good defense. Brian Brown's going to return for his 4th season as a defensive coordinator. You have the quarterback in Malik Cunningham comes back, he wants to, apparently, Scott Satterfield, the head coach, wants Malik Cunningham to stay in the pocket more, let passing plays develop, and just work on his passing ability. He's like Lamar Jackson in a way where he does take out the pocket quite a bit and runs a lot. I think they'll be in a good position to get some good wins and be one of the better teams in the ACC. And basically, I think Louisville is on an upward climb. I really do. And I think that it's taken a little while to do that for Scott Satterfield. He took the job in 2019 coming from App State with a 51-24 record. He went 8-5 in 2019. He went 4-7 in the COVID year, which we really shouldn't judge anybody or, discipline a coach or anything because of that season. I mean, it was unexpected, and we didn't know if we were even have football with COVID, but we did, and he went 4-7. But he did manage to go to a bowl game, go 6-7 last year. I expect them to improve just a little bit this season. And I think they could be one of the more surprising teams in the ACC this year. So when you look at Louisville, Malik Cunningham comes back, Jalen Mitchell, Marshawn Ford comes back, the receivers and running backs. They did lose a couple guys to the portal to Maryland. Who was that, by the way? I don't have it pulled up. I know they lost someone to Maryland. Receivers coach, Gunnar Brewer, left for Maryland too. But that being said, they got a couple pieces to replace, but overall, they also got to improve their O-line and their D-line. But I think they could be in good position. So with that being said, let's look back real quick at what they did last year as far as the schedule and record as they went 6-7 and 4-4 in the ACC. So they opened up. Actually, I think they played a better game against Ole Miss than it said on paper. They had the offense, but they didn't have the defense to keep up. They lose that game 43-24. Then they win 3 straight games: Eastern Kentucky, UCF, and Gus Malzahn, and then Florida State. Then you lose to Wake Forest, you lose to Virginia, you get a bye week. Then you go and you beat teams like Boston College, Syracuse, and Duke. You lose to NC State and Clemson. You lose to Kentucky. Their losses were not that bad. The only one I would say was Virginia. Might have been one of the more inexcusable losses that they took. But I mean, even if I mean it was a close loss, it wasn't a huge blowout. 6-7, 4-4 in ACC play. They got to do better. They got to figure out the offensive line issues. They got to figure out some defense, especially in the secondary. They do bring in Jermaine Loyal from Arizona State. They lost their top receiver. He's a defensive tackle from Arizona State, by the way, Jermaine Lowell. They lost Tyler Harrell to the Crimson Tide, my Crimson Tide of Alabama. Thank you very much. A top receiver on their team they lost. Who's, highly coveted. So they got a couple pieces to replace, and they bring in Tyon Evans at running back from Tennessee. He's expected to be really good. I've heard some big things about him. So what they lose, they make up for. I mean, they kind of lost, but they also went into the portal themselves and got some good players. Tyler Hudson is a 4-star wide receiver from Central Arkansas. So they've done some portal work, Marshawn Ford comes back, solid hybrid weapon. He's a good tight end or halfback you could go with. He led the team last year in receiving with 49 catches for 550 yards. So the weapons are there for the offense. They just have to find a way around teams like Clemson and Syracuse, Kentucky, the bigger name teams. And I think that's where it comes in. Are they good enough to compete with them? Because I don't think they're a bad team to where they're going to go and lose to Eastern Kentucky week 2. Which I apologize. I'm looking at last year's schedule, but I mean, to give you an example, they have some cupcake teams this year, which we'll get into in a second, but they should be a much better and much improved team this year. Going forward in 2022. And I would say they improved their record by a couple wins. So let's look at what they have in 2022 as far as their full-on schedule. You open up kind of tough, actually. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Right here. Syracuse on the road, and then a road game to Gus Malzahn, who had some good teams with Auburn, had a good first year with UCF. So back-to-back road games to start the season, not necessarily in their favor, in my opinion, especially that Syracuse game. Florida State, USF, at Boston College, at Virginia. They get a bye week and they go play Pitt. Wake Forest, James Madison is part of the non-con schedule. At Clemson, which, say whatever you want to about last year, I expect them to be very much improved and win the ACC. NC State, and then Kentucky. I expect this to be a very favorable schedule for Louisville. I think halfway through the season after the bye week, you'll get to see this team evolve and find their identity on offense and defense. And I think Scott Satterfield could very much, and I don't know if his job's necessarily in jeopardy, but if there's any question about whether or not he should be the guy or the head coach, I think that he could help his case this year with this schedule, right? This could be tough, though. Wake Forest is supposed to be better. They were a team that was in the ACC championship last year. Um, man, this is not an easy schedule to figure out. Honestly, I could see them going above 500 and making it back to a bowl game. I really could, but barely above 500. NC State, is that a trap game? That could be. They could go and upset Kentucky. Could they upset Clemson? Well, it depends. Is Clemson going to get their stuff together? Did they lose to Florida State? They could. Louisville is so hard to figure out right now. I'm only going off my gut and predictions here. At UCF, you could lose that, and that's not a bad loss. UCF is a good program. Gus Malzahn's a good head coach. Did pretty good at Auburn. He just was so inconsistent. That's why he lost his job. He was already on the hot seat, blah, blah, blah. We get all of that. That's not a bad loss. Syracuse will not be a bad loss. It's not about who they lose to, but how many they lose to. I think Louisville's looking for a good overall record, regardless of what their losses are, right? Now, don't get it twisted. You don't want to be losing to James Madison, but, if you lose to some teams like Kentucky or Pitt or even Virginia on the road, don't hang your head too much. I think they just want to go barely above 500. I think at minimum, honestly, I think this team could be built for something great. I think at minimum 6-6, at most maybe 8-4. Maybe if they play their cards right, 9-3. I like the recruiting. I like Scott Satterfield. I like the direction that it's going. And I think it's one of the more underrated, underappreciated college football teams right now. And one of the, or maybe not college football teams, but really just stick to the ACC. I think this is one of those ACC teams that we don't give enough credit to. We look at Pitt, we look at Wake Forest because of last year, and we look at Clemson. Who's number 4 in there? Is it Louisville? Are they the next up-and-coming ACC team that can turn their program around? It's a great possibility. I'm going to go ahead and throw up my record prediction. I do think they go 7-5. Like I said, I'm not going to hype this team up and get on board any train. They're still kind of middle of the line in the ACC. I'm going to say 7-5. And I'm going to say their losses will be Wake, at Syracuse. I put these in the wrong order, but you start out, I'm going to say their first loss at Syracuse week 1. I think they lose out of the gates, maybe close. I think they could beat UCF and Florida State. I think they beat the Bulls. I think they beat Boston College. They win 4 or 5 games there. They get the bye week. Then they lose to Pittsburgh. So Syracuse, then Pitt, then Wake Forest, then Clemson, and then Kentucky. So 7-5, 4-4 in conference play. Honestly, for Louisville, that's not bad, and I think it's a good start right now if Scott Satterfield is legit and wants to turn this thing around. They went 6-7 last year. Here they are. I got them at least one extra win, plus a trip to go to a bowl game. If they are getting better and improving, they should win at minimum 6 games. And they should win between 6 and 8 games this year if they're truly serious, bring in a lot. And even though they do lose their top receiver, Tyler Harrell, to Alabama, they still got a couple other good weapons out there for sure. And they brought in like Tyler Hudson, from Central Arkansas. He's a 4-star athlete. He comes in. He's going to be a replacement guy for Tyler Harrell potentially. I've seen his highlights. He looks like he's very well built, got some good speed on him, something that maybe Louisville could use, right? They also bring in Tyon Evans. I mentioned the running back from Tennessee. I'm not sure about him, but I'm sure it's something that they could use. I think Louisville's one of the teams that could really use any weapon possible right now from the transfer portal. So anyway, that's going to do it for this one. I'm going to say 7-5, if not 8-4. And of those losses that I think they have the best chance of winning, I think that at Syracuse could be the one possibly that gets them to 8-4. Because remember, Wake Forest, Syracuse, Pitt, Clemson, and Kentucky. Well, I don't know. I think either Syracuse or Kentucky, if you beat one of those and change it to 8-4, that's where that comes in. So it's one of those two games, either your first or your last game. Do you end it on a high note? Do you start it off right? I'm not sure. But Louisville should have no problem getting maybe 7 to 8 wins this year in 2022. But that's going to do it for me. I love you guys. Jesus loves you. He's got an amazing plan. Keep your head up. Please like, comment, and subscribe right here to Ballard Sports Media for more sports content. And until next time, folks, your boy Ballard Sports Media checking out. Love y'all. Peace out.